Good evening, everyone. Sorry I'm unable to speak to you in person tonight. I've pre-recorded this talk to give you a brief overview of how we've assessed the biodiversity value of the Lee and Wigan sites, which we hope will soon be declared a new National Nature Reserve. In August last year, Natural England commissioned the Greater Manchester Ecology Unit to undertake a review of the species records we hold and prepare a report to support the application on ecological grounds. This is referred to as the evidence base and is at the heart of the application. We analysed the recordings from the most recent 5-year period, 2014 to 2019, bearing in mind that most survey activity was suspended in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We submitted the report to Natural England in March this year and presented its findings to the NNR project team. It's now available for you to read on the Carbon Landscape website, and we would welcome your feedback. If you have additional data which would support the application, then in my absence please get in contact with Jenny Griggs. Historically, the bar for National Nature Reserve declaration has been set very high, with the site needing to support approximately 10% of the national population of individual species. The initial work indicated that the combined Lee and Wigan sites did not meet this criterion. However, we decided to continue with the study and apply the Joint Nature Conservation Committee criteria for sites of special scientific interest, SSSIs, which require a site to hold a minimum of 1% of the English population of the species for which it's being designated. This is particularly relevant as NNRs are usually underpinned by a SSSI designation, which means the site is of national importance. The data collected over many years, mainly by dedicated volunteers, with input from professional ecologists, had already identified the importance of these sites for wetland birds, breeding bird assemblages and willow tits. So we decided to focus on these initially. In addition, we decided to look at bats and great crested newts. The sites have not been well surveyed for bats in recent years. However, the habitat suggested that they could be an important ecological feature. In addition, this is a strategic opportunity area for great crested newts, with pond creation at the sites such as Amberswood Common and Bickershaw Country Park, intended to boost the district population of this amphibian. The sites shown on the map are those which will be included in the NNR application. So as you can see, there is no single boundary which encloses them all. Instead, they are referred to as an archipelago of sites, or another description would be a chain of islands of high biodiversity value in a wider landscape. They cover an extensive area extending across 8 square kilometres and comprising the Abram Flashes SSSI, Bryn Marsh and Ince Moss SSSI, which will underpin the NNR, the 4 local nature reserves, Low Hall, Pennington Flash, Three Sisters and Wigan Flashes, which many of you will be familiar with. Perhaps less well known are the sites of biological importance, which are selected by GMEU on ecological grounds. Some of these overlap with the SSSIs and the LNRs. There are 12 in total, 10 Grade A SBIs, which are sites of county or regional importance, and 2 Grade B, which are sites of district importance. The key habitats of the NNR are shown on the bottom right of the slide and form a matrix at individual sites supporting the specialist communities and diverse species. Most of the data on non-breeding wetland birds, those that occur in autumn and winter, are collected by the British Trust for Ornithology's Wetland Bird Surveyor Counters. Some of these volunteers have been surveying the same sites for many years. GMEU's analysis showed that Gadwall was the only regularly occurring duck to meet the 1% SSSI threshold, making the site of national importance for the species. SMEW only requires 1 bird to meet the threshold, as in recent winters there have only been approximately 130 individuals in Britain. Green sandpiper is a wader that breeds in Scandinavia and Russia. Most occur on autumn passage, with only very small numbers overwintering. So the threshold for this species is also low, just 3 birds. The BTO also carried out their own analysis of the Webb's data and calculated that the mean autumn peak across the Wigan sites was just over 4,500 birds, with the winter peak just under this figure. This compares with the SSSI selection criteria, requiring an assemblage of 20,000 birds for a site to be designated. Breeding bird assemblages. It's the combination of species known as assemblages associated with the fen, grassland and woodland habitats that make these sites of high ecological value for breeding birds. The Lancashire Wildlife Trust has carried out common bird census surveys at the Wigan Flashes for over 20 years, and this is an incredibly valuable data set for monitoring trends in individual species, which in turn informs the site management plan. Between 2014 and 2019, the total number of species has been remarkably consistent, fluctuating between 65 and 69. Over the same period, the number of territories has declined by just over 6%, but the Flashes still supports high numbers of individual species. We can have a look at a few of these. The decline in willow warbler is significant and is probably due to the woodlands maturing, as this bird favours young plantations. In contrast, the numbers of blackcap have increased significantly, and this is a species which favours mature woodland. Reed warblers, as the name suggests, are found almost exclusively in Phragmites reed beds. So the extensive reed beds at the Wigan Flashes are clearly to their liking, with a modest increase in the number of territories. As far as birds are concerned, Willow Tea is definitely one of the UK's highest conservation priorities, with the species undergoing a massive decline of 91% since 1990. We are fortunate that Wigan's former collieries still support good numbers. Willow tit stands out above all the other species we have analysed, with an estimated 52 pairs across the proposed NNR sites. This is equivalent to 2% of the English population, so double the minimum required for SSSI designation. Thanks to Wayne Parry's nest monitoring, we know that Amberswood Common is the most important site, with 15 pairs breeding in 2019, followed closely by the Wigan Flashes with 13 pairs and Pennington Flash with 7. So these 3 sites alone hold an incredible 35 pairs, which is 67% of the NNR's estimated population. Our local willow tits are subject to alarmingly high levels of predation, with nests being taken over by blue tits at the egg stage and chicks being taken by great spotted woodpeckers. So we urgently need an NNR species action plan to address this issue if we wish to retain the current numbers. Water owls are more often heard than seen. You are fortunate if you get such a good view as the one shown in this photo. Based on 2014 surveys, we estimate that the proposed NNR sites hold just under 1% of the British population, making it the second most important breeding bird after willow tit. The Wigan Flashes is the #1 site, supporting 19 pairs, followed by the Aberham Flashes with 10 pairs. The Wigan Flashes are surveyed annually by the Lancashire Wildlife Trust, but we only have limited data from the other sites since 2014. As we've discovered during the Carbon Landscape Citizen Science surveys, bitterns are incredibly elusive birds. So if you manage to see one, let alone obtain a quality photo like these, then it really is a red letter day. Based on records submitted, we estimate that there are probably 4 birds wintering in Wigan most years, which is 0.5% of the overall British wintering population of 800 birds. Approximately half of these are resident and the other half are migrants from Europe, which come here to escape the harsh winters on the continent. Last winter there were 2 birds seen at Pennington Flash, and singles at the Wigan Flashes and Bickershaw. During the breeding season, males have been booming at all 3 sites, so there is a high probability that a pair may be breeding. Looking at the bat records, it was clear that there had been very little recording effort at these Wigan sites over the past 10 years, but some tantalising clues to what might be present. For example, Dorbenton's bats, one of the Myotis species, had been recorded in 2012 during a From Grey to Green project BioBlitz at Low Hall NNR, but not a single record since from the site. I'd like to thank John Harrison for the significant amount of time that he has devoted to the surveys. We carried these out between March and May this year. John not only put up the detectors and collected them in, but he also analysed the data. We deployed on average 6 detectors at each of the sites shown in the table and left these in situ for a week. The detectors would start recording shortly before sunset and run through the night, so an incredible amount of data was collected, more than ever before at these sites, and the results were amazing. The level of bat activity was so high at some sites that the SD cards were full up after just a few nights. Some of the highlights were Nephusius pipistrelle, a very rare bat in Wigan, recorded on several nights at Amberswood Common. In addition to the static detectors, Neil Hancock's carried out a walk-around survey of the lake at Amberswood and established that this is clearly an important feeding site for noctules with high levels of activity recorded. A significant Dorbenton's bat roost was located at Low Hall. Amazingly, this is close to where the individual had been detected during the BioBlitz in 2012. Returning to the bigger picture, we've identified some significant gaps in the data, and the report contains recommendations for filling these over the next few years, and these are listed below. We hope that the declaration of the NNR will act as a catalyst, not only inspiring more young people to get involved in species surveys and long-term monitoring, but also encouraging our experienced recorders to act as mentors, transferring their knowledge and skills to the next generation. Just imagine the 20-year-olds of today reporting on the results of their data sets in 2042. Who knows what new species may colonise these wetlands over the next 20 years as a result of additional habitat creation and restoration resulting from the NNR declaration. If you would like to join us in monitoring the proposed NNR's amazing diversity of species, please get in touch. Thank you.